Can I welcome Oier Imaz? He's a veteran of philosophy in recent years and a member of the International Council for the World Social Forum, and he's been a promoter of the Global Net for Collective Rights of Peoples. He's a doctoral researcher at the University of Basque Country and is a member of the Department of International Relations. He's in Abertzale left. It's a political party, we'll tell you about it, in the Basque Country. Currently it's outlawed, so this is prescribed. And the main purpose of this party is to resolve Basque Country to recognize, recognition of the right for self-determination. Over to you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank CAMPACC the opportunity to have this chance to explain you what's going on in the Basque Country. For the second, I want to apologize because my English is not very good, especially my pronunciation. Yeah, we have a common situation, very tricky, that we just have to say hello to be identified as Spanish, and we start a very comic discussion on saying, no, I'm not Spanish, I'm Basque. So the Basque Country is a small country. It is located in between Spain and France, and it is divided in 3 administrative spaces. Two in the Spanish state, and 1 in the north in the French state. I'm not going to give you a kind of historical chronicle of our recent life as a people, but more than others, what I'm gonna do is take some ideas that has been appearing during the discussions and try to focus on them through Basque examples, things that has been happening in the Basque Country the last times. You will see some big differences comparing with your countries. Conceptually, the framework is more or less similar. We are talking about a stateless nation which was occupied in the Middle Age, which has no right to define its own future, but which is located in the heart of Europe. It is in between Spain and France. And even when, until 30 years ago, we were under a dictatorship where our repressive situation and human rights situation was more similar to yours, it would be untrue or false saying that the situation in the Basque Country is as grave as in some of your countries. We can consider that, but conceptually something more or less similar. And I will focus in 3 main ideas that has been appearing. The first of those will be about the idea of community, the second one about the idea of legitimacy, and the third one about the idea of representativity. Because I will quote, I don't know who was, I think you were the one that has quoted that. No, I totally agree even when we see the world full of unfair things, and we used to reclaim our rights thinking that there is someone that can implement those rights. And it is not true. In my experience, it is not true. What it is true is that all it's about, well, as you have said, political interest. And even when it is sad to say that so clearly, we have to play that game if we want to be successful on giving to our peoples the opportunity to have a different future, which will be not rooted on the systematic denied of basic rights. And therefore, I think that one idea that we have to consider carefully is this about the community. This year are 500 years that Navarre, which has been in our history the only time that when we have been an independent, well, kingdom, not really a state, it's 500 years that it was occupied by the Castilians. And well, it's a tricky anecdote, but well, just to understand how we understand what means community, there was a movement in the Basque Country trying to reclaim, that our political goal has to be to rebuild the institutional structure, not of the Basque Country, but of Navarre. Because Navarre gives us an historical reference where one state was independent, so we had the historical legitimacy to reclaim a state for the future. And at that time appeared one guy in Navarre reclaiming that he was the inheritor of the kingdom. So, quite comic in our point of view. We were, after being 40 years struggling against a dictatorship, and 30 years struggling against the democratic kingdom, we will reclaim our own state, and it will become naturally, because of the inheritance, in a new kingdom, and we will have our own king. No? In our point of view, that historical inheritance is complicated because, as other ones have said, no, colonized, and how to put which is the time when the true and the good and the important reference is located. It's in 1512, or it's 100 years before, it's 100 years after. In our point of view, the key element to understand what means community is related to the political will of the people is living in that territory. Not more, not less. And in that sense, the right of self-determination, not only as a tool to resolve conflict situations, which in itself is something valuable, very valuable, if the right to self-determination is enough to become the past situation better, I will be agree on implementing it only because of that. But it helps us too, as nationalist movements, to locate our discourses in the global scenario. Why? Because we put the political interest of our people, the political will of our people, a democratic decision, in the core of our political discourse. And that's one interesting point in order to explain to the rest what we are asking for. And it could be even intelligent. In our case, there has been two other branches of our movement reclaiming our definition as ethnic, as an ethnic group. It's true, our language is the oldest in the European context. It's the only one, well, maybe it could be compared with the Finnish Indo-European language, which is used today to make mechanic quantum physics. It's an alive language. We have been successful on these goals. But if we define our political conception of the agent in an ethnic perception of our identity, we will be always less than them. In the Basque country, the Basque-speaking community is smaller than the Spanish-speaking community. We know that without the institutional ability to implement favorable measures to develop the representativity of that language, we will be never more. So if we define ourselves ethnically, looking to ethnical characteristics of our identity, we will be always less. So democratically, we will be never enough to win that popular consultation. So it could be even intelligent. In the sense of legitimacy, you have mentioned to Hillary Clinton about the equivalence and why they use. I have already said it's political interest, but it's related to a structural issue. Most of our conflicts are in a context where there is an asymmetry of power. We don't have the same power as them. They are more powerful than us. They have the institutional legitimacy to face the international community and support their claims, even when they do the same. Reading a report done by Constellation Resources, a foundation based here in London, if we consider the terrorist acts committed in the world in the last 15 years, and 80% are state terrorist acts. So all anti-terror measures are going against the bad target. And they are not misunderstanding. They know what they are doing. So we have to play with that necessity on building alternative legitimacy sources. And I have seen very interesting the approach done by the Tamils in order to create educative, communicative, strategic capacities in our peoples. We need to have enough tools created by ourselves, create counter-power dynamics, to be prepared to take the power and make things different. And it would be not a consequence of no one, it's not us. It has to be a consequence of what we do. And it has to be a part of our daily agenda. In our case, we have spent a lot of time one concrete initiative. We built in '98 a National Assembly, the first institutional body including all the territories of the Basque country, and an official body. It wasn't created by the official institutions. It was created by the local representatives in town halls. more than 60% of the local representatives in town halls did participate in the Constitutional Assembly, and they did decide to start working in those that were identified as strategic necessities for the survival of our people. One of them was the educative improvement, the necessity to create our own educative alternative. 8 years of process has been able to create our own curriculum. We already have it. We don't have to where to implement it still, but we are prepared for the time when we go in to just put it on the table and offer to our people a concrete alternative. But it is intelligent too. If we see how the balance between unionist forces and independentist forces into the workers of the educative institutions has been developing in the last 8 years, it has changed the balance. In that time, unionist forces were majority and we were minority. At the moment, we have an absolute majority among the workers in the public educational institutions. So, we have to create counter power strategies, but without losing the sense of reality. We can't create as much as counter power dynamics as we want, that we are not playing that game alone. With Udalbiltza, what happened was quite simple. The state understood the potentialities of that institution. They outlawed it. They arrested all the political representatives of that institution. 30 people arrested. And they took all the money. They are playing this role too. So we have to look ways, and I think the Tamil one was the one that has said that too, how to work in their politics. We have to frame our work in the real scenario. We have to see what are they doing, where are they working, how are they working, and try to play their game too, to change it, and changing it in parallel. Counter power dynamics and power dynamics are not contradictory. In our perspective, are complementary, even more, are creative. They create new opportunities. So, just to go ending, we have to try to create a representative sense of belonging for the community, try to give to that community enough legitimacy, and work strongly in its representativity. In our case, we have done it unilaterally. Our counter player, the Spanish state or the French state, doesn't want to join that game. They were aware that this process will help us. The situation in the Basque country, we could say that is more or less at the moment contradictory, but it's hopeful too. We are facing in this moment, the possibility to overcome the solution of the Basque conflict. We have done it unilaterally. Unilaterally because we have renounced to the army resistance unilaterally. But well, we have done a lot of other things unilaterally. At last, and as the Kurdish Mehmet have said, because we have been looking to our own agenda, not to their agenda. There has been 3 different attempts on negotiations between the Basque Liberation Movement and the Spanish state. The 3 ones were not successful. And the reason was simple. They don't want to resolve it. The Spanish state was quite comfortable in the situation where we were. There is a simple anecdote to understand it. 2 weeks ago, in a public interview to the Interior Minister of the Spanish state, they asked him, do you think that there is a risk in the Basque countries, in the Irish case and so on, to have a split in the army organization? And he didn't, I know he didn't did it consciously.
Consciously, yeah.
But he tell, we wish, they wish, they would like to have our step back into the army struggle. Because we have done a lot of other things unilaterally. We have been implementing our own agenda. Being an outlawed movement, I mean, my political party is it's a terrorist party. It's defined as a terrorist in the European list, in the Basque country, in the Spanish legality. We have been able to create a coalition among Basque political parties leftist and progressive. Legal ones and us, which we are the main force in that coalition, but with a lot of others. And we have became the first force in the last political elections in the Basque country. I mean, there has been a strong popular support. We have the same in the international community. We have been able to create links, nets, support groups in different institutions to support it. So we have done this unilateral strategy, creating a dialogue among these ones that we care about, the Basque society, the Basque people, and these ones that were willing to help us, the international community, overcoming the Spanish state. And we have been able to move to a situation where, even when all the risks are still on the table, we have real capacities, real possibilities to resolve for the Basque conflict and create a democratic framework for our people. So this idea to end. We have to believe on our own capacities and work looking to our own agendas, not in the agendas of the rest.